You clicked on this video because you want to learn how to code in Roblox Studios, and that is awesome because you are in the right place. I still remember when I was started learning to code in Roblox. I spent hours and hours trying to find good tutorials, but it was so hard. Most of what I found was either too fast, too confusing, or it just didn't click for me. Eventually, I stumbled on a creator who explained things in a way I could actually understand, and that changed everything. If you're watching this right now, I imagine you're on a similar journey. You're searching for something that makes sense. My hope is that I could be that person for you, someone who explains scripting in a way that actually sticks. In this series, we're going to start from the absolute basics and build our way up to the most advanced scripting topics Lua U has to offer. Along the way, I'll assign mini homeworks at key milestones to help you lock in what you've learned and prove to yourself that you are improving, that you are becoming a better scripter. I hope you are as excited as I am. So without further ado, let's dive into our very first topic, variables and properties. All right, we are in Roblox Studio and I'm in a script. I have some examples laid out, but let's first start off with variables. What are variables? Variables are just words that you assign value to. And there are many different types of variables, but in this video, I'm only going to cover the four most important and commonly used variable types, and those are numerical, string, boolean, and data types. So we should probably first understand how to write a variable, because that's obviously pretty helpful if we're trying to learn how to code. We could see that all my variables start with this local keyword, and that is for scoping reasons. It tells the game, it tells Roblox Studio rather, whether or not the variable is a local or global variable. And that's all I'm going to say because it's confusing and I'll talk about it later on, but I don't want to confuse you guys on day one. That's not beneficial. So for now, just always put local in front of your variables, in front of your variable name. And then after the local keyword, we have our variable name. So the first example, it is a numerical variable. So we have 5 is equal to 5, and equal 5 is what the variable is equal to, and it is a numerical variable, so it's either a integer, decimal, or a negative number. Every time we type 5, which is our variable name, Roblox Studios will know we are talking about the number 5. And then our next type is string, and strings are defined by the double quotes, and within those double quotes you can name it or write your string using all characters, and strings are not executable code, right? If I typed some code in between double quotes, none of it's going to be executed because it's not executable. Strings are most commonly used to store information or used in print statements. I mean, there's so many uses for them, I can't really go ahead and list them, but as we continue with this series, you will see them more and more and understand them. Same with all the variables. I can explain, the basics of a variable, like a numerical, let's say, integer, decimal, or negative, but later on we will actually start to see these variables in play, and that will really help you guys. Next is Boolean, and that is either true or false. There's nothing else to it. It's the keyword true, which is a lowercase t, and it will have this yellowish color, or I could make this false. So true or false. Pretty easy, self-explanatory. Then our next type is data type, and data types are predefined words that hold a value. So here we have instance.new. It is this bluish color, and Roblox Studio will see this and know what to do with it. But we might not want to type instance.new every time. Say we need to type it probably a total of 10 times in our script, for example. I don't want to type instance.new 10 times. I'd rather type data type 10 times. So that I will set data type to our variable. Local data type equals instance.new. And every time I type data type, Roblox will say, oh, he's just talking about instance.new. That's the same concept with all variables. But data types, we'll touch more on these later. All right, so there are some variable naming rules. You can name your variables anything you want as long as you don't use keywords and your variables do not start with a number. So I have some examples laid out here. We have local good underscore example 1. That is a good example. It contains letters, numbers, and underscores, and it does not violate any of our rules. And then we have a bad example of a variable that doesn't work. I mean, it has this yellowish color and this red underscore squiggly line. I mean, it's very obvious that just there's something wrong with it. It's not going to work. But why? I mean, we can use numbers, letters, and underscores. Well, the issue here is we use a number at the start. You can't do that. That is a no-go. If I were to remove this 4, it works. It is the gray color. There's no red line. We could totally use that as a variable name. If I add the 4 back, it screws us up again. So remember, keep your numbers out of your variable name, specifically in the front. Anywhere else, not the front. And then we have local true equals bad. I mean, it's a bad example, but why? It's because true is a keyword. It is this yellow color, red squiggly line. Again, not going to work. If I made this a capital T, it would work, and that's because Lua U is case sensitive, so the capital T is not a keyword, but lowercase is, and you could even see it pops up here, and it's a boolean. So again, would not work, and it's because it uses a keyword as a variable, and a keyword is basically anything that has a predefined value and is typically a different color. So, I could not use a local, I could not use color 3, I could not use .new, or any of that. So make sure your variables follow the rules. No numbers in the front, no keywords, and you should be good. Let's go over some good habits. So it is best to fully spell out whatever you're trying to type. Don't use abbreviations, and yes, abbreviating does make it easier to write code. It also makes it harder to understand. And I won't lie, I do abbreviate my variables a lot, but I also have been coding for quite a while. So I recommend, while you guys are still learning, to fully write out the names of your variables. It is common practice for programmers to use patterns of capitalization to quickly figure out what the variable represents. And there are 3 ways we can name our variables, and those are Pascal case, camel case, and loud snake case. This is not exclusive to Roblox Studio, and it's pretty common in the programming world. So if you're coming from another language, say Python or C#, whatever it is, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Starting with Pascal case. Pascal case capitalizes the first letter of every word, and it is used for class names and enums and objects and APIs. If you don't know what any of those are, don't worry about it. It's not important right now. Just know that the capitalization of the first letter of every word. So here in our example, we have brick, capital B, and capital C in color. That is Pascal case. And then just equal to color3.new, whatever. Camel case. A camel case capitalizes the first letter of every word after the first word, used for local variables and functions. What does that mean? We have our first word, which is camel. It is lowercase c, and the word after it, case, has a uppercase C. In our example, it's the same thing. Local, being our first word, is entirely lowercase. And then variable, our second word, has the capital V. E, an example, which is our third word, has a capital E. And I could keep going and adding more words, and I would make sure I capitalize the first letter of those words. And then we have loud snake case, and every word is capitalized and separated by an underscore, and it's used for variables that won't change. So here I have max jump height. As you can see, everything is capitalized and each word is separated by an underscore. And I chose max jump height because I think it's, the example kind of makes sense. I mean, how often are we really going to change the jump height of a player? I mean, maybe sometimes you are, but typically the max jump height is going to be default. So this is a default value. It's not going to change. That's why I wrote it in a loud snake case, because if I'm going over my code and I'm trying to pick out what things are, what things do, what they mean, I could look at the way I've named them. Oh, loud snake case. This is a default variable and it won't change. Or if I have camel case, I know it is for variables and functions, specifically local variables. And if I look at Pascal case, I know it's objects, class names, enums, whatever. So as you can see, it just kind of makes things easier to go through when you're reading your code and you're trying to understand what's happening. Say maybe you work with people and you're just reviewing the code that the person wrote, and you're just trying to understand what's going on. You can pick out variables, understand what's happening faster. It's also a little annoying to get used to and trying to write these, but you guys are starting out fresh. At least I'm assuming you are. So while it might be annoying, I highly urge that you build this habit now, not later, now. I didn't do it when I first started, and when I'm writing code and I'm trying to be professional, it's a pain because I keep forgetting, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta go back and change my variables and name it correctly. It's annoying. Learn the habit now. All right, the last thing I want to go over for this video is properties. I kind of just want to introduce you guys to the concept of changing properties in code, and I want to give you a real example of using a variable, because I mean, I explained all these variables, but they probably don't really make sense yet, so it's better to see them in action. So I have my variable part here written out, and that's equal to the game.workspace.part. What that means is, if we look over here in our Explorer tab, everything in the Explorer is part of the game. Workspace is right here, and part is the part located inside of the workspace. So when Roblox Studio sees part, it's going to go game, enter the game, then enter the workspace, then find the part in the workspace. And now we could use our variable part to change the properties. So if I click on the part here and look at the properties tab down here, we could see that color, our first property we have listed here, is right over here. And we could change that by doing equals color3 dot new, and then the color we want. And then we have anchored, which is another property somewhere down here, right here. Part.anchored equals true. This is our boolean, and we have our variable accessing the part, or accessing the property, and then we could change it. And another thing, you see these check boxes right here. Checked is true, unchecked is false. So most of the properties are boolean values, that's why we're using true here. And then we have part.canCollide equals false. Again, it is just another property that you could change. And again, it is a check, so it is boolean, but I want to set that to false because can collide is, can the player touch it or walk into it? Can anything collide with it, really? Typically, depending on what you're doing, it's not good. So we're going to turn it to false. So if I were to run the game, but first I want to come up here and just comment these out. That's another thing. You could use 2 of these, and it will comment them out, and this code will not be executed. So if I were to run the game, we can see that our part has changed its color. I can not collide with it. As you see, I'm phasing through it, and it is anchored. So I can just put it up in the air and it won't fall. And I just want that to be a quick little introduction to properties. And just, I want to give you guys an example of variables at play to kind of solidify everything that we went over today. So that's about it for today. And if you guys enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe, comment, do whatever, honestly. Just let me know if I did a good job so I can continue making videos like this. And if you didn't like it or have some suggestions, please let me know, whether you comment it or leave a dislike. I want to know how I can improve, and if you have any questions from this video or throughout the series as I continue to make videos, you can ask me in the comments or join my Discord server and communicate with me directly or any of the other members in there. But honestly guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.